Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So girls, now today we are going to study the character of Nun, who is the prioress. The prioress is the female member of a religious order. So the Chaucer states that there was also a nun, rather a prioress, who is the head of nuns. She is the head of nuns. In her smiling manner, the prioress was very simple and shy. She was very simple and shy. Her greatest oath in French was by Saint Eloi instead of saying by God. We just, if someone is going to, taking the oath, he just say by God, and she just states by Saint Eloi. She was called, or she was named Madame Eglantine. प्लीज रिमेंबर दिस थिंग कि वो जो है वो सेंट अलाई की जो है वो ओथ लेती थी एंड शी वाज नेम्ड मैडम एग्लेंटाइन so this thing can be asked in your in the mcqs or in your paper. She sang the divine service very well, and she intoned the divine service through her nose in a very seemingly manner. तो जो रिसाइट कर रही थी वो जो कुछ पढ़ रही थी वो अपनी नाक से पढ़ी जैसे नाक से आवाज निकालते हैं ना the way it was. The Prioress spoke French very fairly well and even devotedly in the manner that she had learned in her childhood at her aristocracy royal group or aristocratic group. Okay, so group of Startford at Bow, which was situated 2 miles away from London. So over here, this is something like ironic sort of a thing कि वो इतनी अच्छी जो है वो फ्रेंच बोलती थी कि उसने फ्रेंच पेरिस से नहीं सीखी या रॉयल कोर्ट से नहीं सीखी बल्कि उसने कहाँ से सीखी है स्टैटफोर्ड एट बोव से सीखी है जो कि एक एरिया है जो कि सिचुएटेड है 2 miles अवे फ्रॉम लंदन. तो उसकी फिर आप हिसाब लगा लें कि उसकी फ्रेंच कैसी होगी. कहने का मतलब ये है कि वो उसको आयरोनिकली कह रहा था, सेटायर कर रहा था, उसको क्रिटिसाइज कर रहा था कि वो फ्रेंच अच्छी नहीं बोल रही थी दरअसल, और साथ ही साथ कह रहा है कि बड़ी अच्छी फ्रेंच बोल रही थी. So the dialect of this thing can also be asked in your exam or in the form of MCQs कि वो कौन सी लैंग्वेज बोलती थी. तो वो फ्रेंच थी जो she was using. So the dialect of Paris or France was thus unfamiliar to her. तो यहाँ पे कह रहे हैं कि वो जो डायलेक्ट था ना, डायलेक्ट इज गर्ल्स, डायलेक्ट एंड एक्सेंट इज दीज आर द टू डिफरेंट थिंग्स. डायलेक्ट होता है आपका लहजा. जैसे इफ वी टॉक अबाउट द पंजाबी लैंग्वेज, तो जो पंजाबी लैंग्वेज है और पंजाबी लैंग्वेज ऑफ लाहौर इज क्वाइट डिफरेंट फ्रॉम पंजाबी लैंग्वेज ऑफ फैसलाबाद. फैसलाबादी पंजाबी कुछ और किसी और तरीके से बोली जाती है पंजाबी है. इट मीन्स दैट पंजाबी हैव डिफरेंट डायलेक्ट्स. ठीक है, तो दिस इज द डायलेक्ट. So she was well taught in the art of eating food. Now he is going to talk about that how she was eating, how she used to eat. She let no morsel, morsel is lukma आपका मतलब जो छोटा सा भी उसका जर्रा था, fall from her lips. Nor did the prioress wet her fingers deeply in the sauce. She was very much well mannered. She kept it very well how to carry a morsel from her plate to her mouth. She took utmost care of not to let any drop of soup fall upon her breast. इतना well mannered थी अपने खाने में, इतना बड़ा ही delicate तरीके से she was eating. Okay, then her priority was very much focused on courtesy. She wiped her upper lip so cleanly that no layer of grease was to be seen in her cup after she had taken her sip. सिप लेने के बाद वो कप भी बहुत क्लियर है, कोई लिपस्टिक नहीं लगी हुई है उसके ऊपर, कुछ भी नहीं लगा हुआ, कोई ग्रीस नहीं लगी हुई. Okay, so surely the prioress was a woman of great spirit. One thing more, girls, there is a difference in the pronunciation of the word women and woman. एक अकेली जो सिंगुलर वुमन होती है वो वुमन होती है, मन वाला जो साउंड है वुमन. ओके, और जब ज्यादा हो तो इट्स वीमेन, विमेन, विमेन. ठीक है, आई वाला और ई टाइप वाला साउंड है. और यहाँ पे ए वुमेन वुमन ही बोल रहे होते, समझ नहीं आ रही होती सिंगुलर की बात हो रही है या प्लूरल की. सो प्लीज रिमेंबर दिस थिंग. Okay, then after eating her food, the prioress feels relaxed in a very seemingly suitable manner. Surely the prioress was a woman of great spirit, of cheerfulness, and the prioress was very pleasant and sweet in her behavior. Her behavior was very good. The Prioress used to try her best to intimate or copy the latest fashionable manners of the royal court. Now, there is one thing that being the nun, वो एक religious lady है, she should not be very much fashionable, she should not be very much concerned about her manners and other things, but she is the head of nuns, she is the head of the religious nuns, but she is somewhat fashionable sort of a girl, the lady rather. Okay, then so as to she is actually doing this in order to be considered that she is belonging to the royal class and to be regarded worthy of respect, and all on account of her birth in a rich family. She wanted to show that the people are going to get the idea that she belongs to the aristocratic class, she belongs to the elite class. So that is why she was struggling so hard, and she was just her memory, her manners were very much calculated. Okay, then she authored the poet Chaucer. He is stating, now I want to speak of her conscience. अब उसके conscience की बात करने लगा है. The Prioress was so charitable and generous, sympathetic, compassionate sort of a person that she would begin to weep if she saw a mouse caught in a trap. Over here, यहाँ पे जो है वो humor create हो रहा है कि वो इतनी sensitive है कि अगर उसके सामने एक जो जो होता है ना चूहा, अगर उसको ट्रैप में वो फंस जाए तो ये या डेड हो जाए या ब्लीड हो जाए, तो उसकी ब्लीडिंग हो रही हो तो ये रोना शुरू कर देगी, इतनी जेनरस है. ओके, दो पेट्स वर फॉरबिडन इन ननरीज, हालांकि पेट्स अलाउड नहीं है इसमें. The Prioress had some small hounds, उसने कुछ dogs भी रखे हुए हैं, hounds, the dogs रखे हुए हैं, whom she fed with roasted meat और fresh milk उनको देती है. बस आपको ये चीज पूछी जा सकती है कि उसने horse रखे हुए थे, dogs रखे हुए थे, क्या चीज रखी हुई थी, तो आपको पता होना चाहिए. ठीक है, और उनको क्या देती थी, ये रोस्टेड मीट देती थी और फ्रेश मिल्क देती थी और ब्रेड ऑफ फाइन फ्लोर की जो ब्रेड थी वो देती थी उनको. So the Prioress was she used to weep bitterly if any of these hounds died. वो रो सकती थी, वो रोना शुरू कर देती अगर उसमें से उसके किसी भी जो उसके जो डॉग्स थे उनमें से अगर कोई मर जाता तो उसके ऊपर वो रो सकती थी, रोना शुरू कर सकती थी. So और if people beat it with a sharp rod, अगर लोग उनको मारते भी तो भी she can do it. So, all this sympathy for animals was the result of her good conscience and tender heart. She was having the tender heart, and her wimple was set neatly. Wimple, now wimple is something like girls, जो कि आपका वो होता है जो वेल फोल्डेड सा जो हेड को कवर करता है, और वो जो नेक नन्स ने लिया होता है ना, हेड और उनका जो नेक है वो एरिया कवर हुआ होता है. दिस इज समथिंग लाइक दैट. Okay, it was set neatly. Her nose was long. You know what, girls? It was sad कि इसने इतने अच्छे तरीके से और इतना इन डेप्थ में जाके इस प्राइरस को उसने उसके कैरेक्टर को एक्सप्लेन किया था कि ऐसे पढ़ के लगता था माइट बी जोसेफ वाज फीलिंग समथिंग अट्रैक्टेड टुवर्ड्स द प्राइरस, टुवर्ड्स हर. इसने इतना जो कीनली कि वो खा ऐसे रही थी, इट मीन्स दैट ही वाज जस्ट कॉन्टिन्यूअसली स्टेरिंग एट हर कि हाउ इज शी बिहेविंग, हाउ इज शी ईटिंग, और कैसे उसका लुकमा इधर उधर मतलब कुछ थोड़ा सा भी नहीं गिर रहा था, उसके कप पे ग्रीस नहीं थी, एंड हाउ कीन ही वाज, एंड उसको कैसे वो ऑब्जर्व कर रहा था. ठीक है, तो देन हर her eyes were as grey as glass. Her mouth was very small, soft, and red. So the prioress certainly had a fair forehead, and her forehead was as broad as something like as a span, which means that the space that is, for example, uh, you know what, the space from the end of the thumb to the end of the little finger, when the fingers are extended over a distance of 9 inches, then you may have the idea that how wide her or broad her forehead was. As I believe so, he states, surely the prioress was not undersized, and her means her garment was very neat, as I was aware. Chaucer was saying so, that her garment was also very like clean and neat. Then he states about her arm, the prioress carried a string of small coral supposed to ward off demons, might be the कि वो उसको दूर रहे बदरूहें वो चीजें. Beads divided between tens of green gods, larger and thicker beads उसके ऊपर थे. अब्रूज, वो जो एक हम यूज करती हैं गर्ल्स वो लगाने के लिए अपने स्कार्फ वगैरह को भी सेट करने के लिए, सॉर्ट ऑफ अ पिन, अ वेरी ब्राइट गोल्डन कलर हंग अपॉन दिस रोजरी, उसके ऊपर स्ट्रिंग के ऊपर लगी हुई थी. ऑल्दो nuns were forbidden to wear any type of ornament. अब किसी भी किस्म का जो जेवर वगैरह पहनना नन्स को मना होता है, उनके लिए इट वाज थॉट कि they should be very much simple. So over here, but she has worn this, and on this brooch there was first written capital A. Capital A might be this was the you know what it was written something like the name of any person, the first letter of any guy. Might be she is in love with somebody and all. So this can be. So then it is said that on this brooch there was first written a capital A and then Amor vincit omnia, which means love conquers all or love wins everyone. So this was written on the brooch. So the prioress had another nun with her. The prioress had this nun as her chaplain or as her, you know what, chaplain is someone like a Christian clergyman attached to an institution. Okay, and she had also three male priests under her charge, and she was the head. Okay, so love conquers all. She that was written on that. So it is something like which was quite different from the personality of how the personality should be of a nun. So these things were very much different, beyond the expectations. Then comes the character of monk. So Chaucer states over here that there was a monk, a fair, suitable clergyman for the excellence of his religious profession. And this monk was an outrider who beloved the non-religious pleasure of hunting. Now, hunting is not allowed to the monk. Monk is again, I'm just telling you, priest or the bishop hota hai. Okay. Now hunting is not allowed, but just like the prioress, he is also quite different from one how a monk should be. He is also very quite different. The monk was a man of masculine courage and was fit to be posted as an abbot. He was fit that he was considered to be the head of the monks. The monk had very many excellently galloping horses. Galloping horses, the horses who jump, you know what, who take the long jumps. Horses in his stable. He has a stable even, and he has the horses. When the fashionable monk galloped or rode fast his horse, men could hear the little bells of his bridle or of his bridle that jingled in the whistling, fast blowing wind as clearly and also as loudly as do the bells of the chapel, where this Lord was the keeper of the cell. Now he is, you know what, making his horse ride so fast that it is actually you know what, it is in imitation of the aristocratic layman of the day. And it was the horses or the whistling, for example, fast blowing, and it was the loudness was created when the horses were, you know what, they were being running or being run so fast. So all of the things were going on there, and believing that the rule or code of both the saints was old fashioned and somewhat like straight, narrow. This very monk let all things pass into forgetfulness. Now he was not following all of the things that should be followed. Okay, so then we come to know and kept pace with the new word. Okay, and he paid no attention to that part of the Benedictine text which says the hunters are not holy men. The hunters are not holy men. It was said that the hunters are not holy men. Okay. Yes, we are studying the character of monk. So it was considered that the hunters are not the holy men, but he was the hunter and he was in the habit of hunting the other creatures. So that of a monk, or when he is, you know what, in the community of the monks is like a fish that is out of water. This means to say that a monk out of his community of monks is a disagreeable person, but this very text had no value for him. That he should not be a hunter, he should avoid this thing, but he is not avoiding it, and he is doing whatever he wants to. Same is the case, the same was the case with the nun. She was also not following the rules and regulations that a nun should follow, and the same is the case over here with the monk. Okay, then come towards in the next lines from line 183. He states that ironically I said that his opinion was good. What more should this monk study to make himself a madman? Why should this monk always remain absorbed into a book in his monk community? He was just in the with the view that he should not always be very much absorbed into the books. Rather, he can do whatever he want to. Why should he sweat his brow with the labor of his hands? Saint Augustine says, "If monks do not perform labor, how will the word be served?" And he is not following that. Let Saint Augustine have this doctrine of labor reserved to him. कहता है ये उस तक ही रहने दे. We are not concerned. Okay. Then we come to know about this idea that therefore this monk was rightly a rider and hunter. He had grey hounds. Greyhounds are, tall, slender dog bred for their great speed and keen sight. They were having these qualities. The greyhounds. Over here, we are like greyhounds he had, as swift as birds to course. So, who were as swift as fowls in flight, and galloping the horse and hunting the hare were his two topmost players, of which he would spare no expenses. Now he was in the, you know what, he was liking this thing that he should, very beautiful picture, you guys can follow it. Okay, so we came to know that he was in the view that he should not be very much absorbed into the book, and there is his own life and he can do whatever he wants to. So he was having the dogs, and he was in the habit of galloping the horses and hunting the hare as well. uh, these were his two topmost players, for which he would spare no expenses. He was in the habit of doing anything related to this. Okay, I saw his sleeves beautifully adorned at the wrists with fine fur, rather the finest in England. He was very much related to his dress. He was very much keen, and to I saw means Chaucer over here is sharing this thing. So to fasten his hood under his chin, he had got a wonderful pin made of gold. The pin was made of gold, and this was he had a gold cunningly fashioned pin, and what he was saying over here, pin of gold, and there was the love note at the larger end of this pin. His head, which shone like glass, his head was like bald, and so did his face, as if it had been anointed. Means might be he had applied some oil or some, any sort of the thing on his head to make it like shine. Okay. Then it is said that his face too looked so bright. Now he's going to explain how was his face. So his face too looked so bright, as if it had been anointed again. Might be he has applied something on his face with some balm. Might be he has applied some balm over it. He was very fat, Lord. He was fat. He was not smart, and he was in very good condition of health, and his brilliant eyes seem to be rolling in his head. Might be he has some big eyes, and his eyes seemed or steamed like a lead furnace, and his boots or his shoes were soft or flexible. Now you are seeing that how well Chaucer is, explaining the getup and the dressing and the manners of the people who were going to the pilgrimage. And then he is saying that his horse was in a great condition of majesty. His horse was so great. Now, certainly, he was a fair prelate, which means a religious sort of a person. He was not pale, he wasn't pale, like a rested ghost. He was not pale. And like he's saying that he wasn't pale like a wasted ghost, like a horrible or like a terrible sort of ghost. He was not. And best of any roasted meat uh, or meat, he loved a fat swan. He was loving the fat swan, who is a water bird, जिसको हंस भी बोलते हैं हम. So this monk was not pale or colorless like some terribly laughing or something terrible sort of ghosts. Of all the roasted birds, this monk loved most a roasted fat swan. So this thing can be asked in your paper from you guys, that monk was he was in love with the in eating. What was the most favorite thing of him? So it was a fat swan. Okay, who is a water bird. So, in the end, his palfrey was as brown as a berry, which means that the small riding horse, he has another small riding horse, and which was brown in color. So, this was something regarding the character of Monk and Prioress. And after reading these two characters, we come to know that he has actually criticized the nun and the monks, the religious person of that time period. He was criticizing them. So in you know what the Prioress by Chaucer, he was called the Madame Eglantine, who is a wild rose as well as the common name of stage actresses. So this was how he was describing her. Okay, the way he has said about her, that she spoke the French dialect learned by her at her aristocratic nunnery of Stratford at Bow, which was that she didn't just learn French from France, rather uh, uh, at her own, you may say. Okay, she let no morsel drop from her lips, and she did not wet her fingers deep in her sauce. How keen Chaucer was in her description of her manners, that how she was eating and how she was behaving, and she did not wet her fingers deep in her sauce, and she did not let any drop of drinks fall on her breast, and she just wiped her over lips so cleanly that no trace of any like grease could be seen at the bottom of her cup. And after that he just talks about his conscience and how she was inwardly or emotionally. So her conscience was so charitable and compassionate that she wept when anybody wounded her dogs or mouse. And her forehead, it was broad, and all these things. How clearly Chaucer has described this particular character, and all of these things, they were like creating humor. And then comes towards Monk. And he was also very much different of the people, of the religious people, the way they should be. Not only the character of Prioress, but this is the case with the character of Monk as well, that both of them were the religious persons, and both of them were very much different in their personalities regarding how they actually should be, or should have been rather. Okay, so this was the thing. He was, although hunting is not allowed, but still he was having he was in the habit of hunting dogs and hunting birds, hunting hare. So he was hunting hare and hunting the other birds, which was not allowed in religion, but he was not following that. And he was not in the, with the idea that they should struggle so hard and they should do anything that is related to the religion. He was not following it. Rather, he was of the view that they had their personal lives, and they can do whatever they want to. It was just like when they are out of that, they are just like a fish out of water. and they are something like कहते हैं ना, which is now they can do whatever they want to. So this was something like that. So over here we have come to know about their personalities. Now, what sort of questions can be asked from you guys as for example, list three character traits of the monk. In what ways does the narrator appear to poke fun at him? कैसे वो उसका मजाक बना रहा होता है कि जो है वो नन की भी अगर हम बात करें तो हाउ ही वाज मेकिंग फन ऑफ हर स्पीकिंग फ्रेंच. ठीक है, वो कैसे एक तो नाक में बोल रही थी और वो जो फ्रेंच बोल रही थी वो उसका डायलेक्ट उसको पता ही नहीं था, और उसका अजीब सा डायलेक्ट था कि जिसको वो जानती ही नहीं थी. ठीक है, और कैसे जो है वो शी वाज हाउ शी वाज क्रिटिसाइज्ड in regarding her being a nun. For example, the nuns are not allowed having the love affairs with the other people or with the other guys, but she was might be, it is clear with her having the brooch, which was on which it was written capital A, that might be she is in affair with somebody. She's having an affair with some person, which is also not allowed in religion, but she was of that kind of lady. Now that kind of nun rather. So after, you know what, Chaucer just described all of these characters to let us know about how the characters were, or of how the people were of that age, of the Chaucerian age or whatever it is. And these two characters are letting us know that the religious persons of that time period were corrupt, and they were not, according to religion, they were not following the religion. और वो लोग जो जिनको they should set some example that they should be like this, and but when these people are not following religion accurately in a very correct manner, the other people, how they are going to follow that, how they will cope with the situation, how they are going to do that. So they should have an ideal personality, that because they are the people who are going to influence the other people to come towards religion or to come towards goodness. So if they are not according to that, they cannot, make other person stop of doing anything wrong. ओके, फिर वो अगला बंदा वो कहता है कि खुद तो अपने आप को ठीक कर लो, फिर मुझे कहना. So this is something like that. So Chaucer has, created, he has given us a detailed description of how the characters were of that period of time. How the night was in the previous lecture, we have come to know how the night of that time period was, and how the squire, and how then the monk and the prioress and all. So in because at the very beginning we came to know that he is going to discuss with us, he is going to let us know about the characters of every profession, of every aspect of the person from every profession and all. That's why he just described the character of knight to describe the how the knights were in that period of time, and then the nun, or the prioress, and then the monk. So basically this was the whole thing. And other than that, let's talk about the character of nun, how a question can be asked regarding this, or how the question can be asked regarding the prioress I have talked about. So a question can be asked like, for example, was the character of monk uh, good, how he should have been being a monk? Or do you agree that the character of a monk uh, was an ideal personality of a monk, was an ideal monk represented in the Chaucer's the prologue to the Canterbury Tales? Then you are going to explain, no, he was not that sort of a person. He was very much bold in his activities, and he was not following the things that a monk should follow, and he was just doing whatever he wanted to. So all of these things are supposed to discuss in that particular question. Other than that, I can ask some other questions like, something, how Chaucer was creating humor after or by discussing these characters, and then by discussing the character of monk and all. So all of these things can be discussed.